Hi, if you've purchased either a heat and glow or a Quadra-Fire stove or fireplace insert along with the RC3 remote and we're expecting to use it in a thermostat function, you may want to be aware that it doesn't operate exactly like the owner's manual describes. And let me demonstrate what I have encountered. Here we're starting off with the stove in the off position, but the remote already set in the thermostat mode. Now I'm going to take you over to where the remote is located, approximately 12 feet away from the stove. As you can see, the thermostat, the wall thermostat operating my furnace is set at 66 degrees and recording that. Right now the remote is also set at 66. Now, say I want to increase the temperature and get the stove to ignite. Let me move it up 1 degree. Observe what happens on the remote. I've set the temperature now at 67. The room temperature display, which is the bottom one, shows currently 67, but will shortly move, or 66, excuse me, but will shortly move to 67 to match what the set temperature is. This may take approximately 30 seconds. The time seems to vary. But what you would expect is at this point to have the stove ignite. In my experience, it does not happen till it reaches about 3 degrees above the actual room temperature. Then it will ignite. There, it switched to 67, but as you can see by the wall temperature, it's still 66. The stove does not ignite because its room temperature is matching the set temperature. Well, let's move it up 1 more degree. Okay, now the set temperature is at 68. The room temperature displays 67 on the remote and 66 on my wall temperature. Observe what happens. Again, this may take a short period of time for it to adjust. Sometimes as much as 30 to 45 seconds, I have found. But eventually it will move up to match what the set temperature is. There. Now again, room temperature setting matches the set temperature, therefore the stove will not ignite. Actual room temperature, still 66. Let's move it up 1 more degree. And observe what happens. Now, set temperature is 69. Actual room temperature is 66, as recorded by my wall thermostat. Room temperature on the remote is currently at 68. And again, we'll wait for it to respond. Again, this takes a little while before it eventually will adjust. Now it goes back to the 66, which is the actual room temperature. And at this point, that's enough of a difference for it to send a signal to the stove to ignite. You should shortly see the signal being sent to the stove. Taking longer than usual in my experience. There's the signal. Go to the stove. The pilot has ignited. And the stove lights. 3 degrees it had to change before it would finally ignite. The same thing happens on the reverse when you're going down and trying to shut it off. It takes a couple of degrees below the actual temperature before changing the set temperature a couple of degrees below the actual room temperature finally gets the stove to shut down. That's at least a 5 to 6 degree overall swing. Not a very comfortable situation. So just be aware of that. Hearth and Home says they are in the process of reviewing this and tightening the specs, but at this point there's no time frame associated.